Well, you saw some replays from the end of North America there, but it's now time to head back over to Europe real quick for the final game, or the final set, I should say, of today. Taco joining me. NRG versus Obey. It's a big one. Last time we saw Obey face off against NRG in the split was in spring. Obey came out on top in 2-0 there, and then we saw them in Masters as well, where Obey came out on top. Is NRG going to be able to do anything here, Taco?
Pretty big headliner game to end the day with, and really, it's very hard as what you can. It's very hard to expect anything from NRG in particular. You never really know what's going to happen. They've teeter-tottered between not really having the greatest performances ever, but at the same time, they're still world champions. They're still a very strong squad, and I think overall it'll just be a lot of fun to see how they face up against Obey.
Okay, we could have said, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, instead of all that ramble, right? P's and B's, pretty please. I'm going to steal a Tom on. You're a woman, you like to ramble? I can't say that. That's sexist. I'm not sexist. I have a wife. She makes sure you're not allowed to be. Obey will be first pick, first ban. Cameras off the table. Are we expecting Ganesha bans? We've seen a couple of Ganeshas today so far.
And you don't have to go any further with that one. Immediately taken away by NRG. We've seen it from NA, but EU's not having any of it.
No, they don't want to mess around with that whatsoever. Obey will ban away Hoyi and Camazot, so a little shot towards emilitoo on that Hoyi. Camazot's in the jungle. Clearly, you don't want someone like Adapting getting a hold of that. But you also don't want PrettyPriMe getting hold of the Morrigan, as he's shown so many times before how good he can be on that character.
A little bit of target bans, but at the same time, they're just strong bans in general. Hoyi is a very dominant ADC, and you don't want to allow emilitoo on that hunter at all.
But it does let Fafnir through, and immediately we're going to see EmilZy pick that up for Obey's duo lane. Sol over for NRG Esports. Now there's a couple of options for him. Obviously, Bellona's available, Osiris, Ravana, Serket, which we've seen banned now and again against some of these teams. But it's going to be the Osiris pickup.
I like the Osiris pickup, especially in the hands of Dimi, of all people. Dimi is a very talented solo laner. It's a very favorable matchup no matter what he's against. So if Obey were to opt for the Bellona selection to try and combat that early pressure from Osiris, and there it is, the Bellona lock-in to try and deal a little bit of death's toll aggression either way.
Now, if you're NRG here, do you look to lock in a support character potentially to make sure they get a priority one like Capri here, or... I'm trying to ask you questions, but I'm taking so long asking them, they're already getting locked in.
No, there's no surprise in that at all, because what I was just about to say is that, yes, they would want to support, because otherwise it wouldn't surprise me in the slightest for Obey to just ban out supports. Like, why not?
Really close game between these two. Obviously, Obey technically classed as the #1 team over in Europe right now, although you cannot discount NRG being the world champions 2 years in a row. Is the glory years over for NRG now? Are we coming down to the lull of them being a regular European team? This is a really good way to find that out.
I don't think the glory years are over for them, but I do think that they've lost a little bit of their edge that they once had.
And why do you think that is?
Oh, it's just you get bored being #1 for so long. It's hard when nobody's contesting you until recently that the rest of EU has really started to step up and give NRG a run for their money. But NRG is still the same talented squad as before. This roster still has more than enough potential to bounce back from anything.
I've said this before as Nox gets locked in for PrettyPriMe in the mid lane, but I'm waiting for that Nox-Ganesh combo to come out eventually. Double silent, Ganesh will be able to set up nicely for the root combination from a Nox, and then Ganesh can follow up again with the ultimate. Be careful to ever see those two on the same team, but NRG does pretty well for getting some nice combinations with the Nox.
And then NRG pick is also a little bit risky here, however, because they are facing it into the Ravana, Terra, and Osiris. Those are 3 members I would never really want to mess around in the NRG. A very risky pick there, but it's going to be up to Twig to see whether or not he executes this combination.
Taco, we've seen this before in the games where you see things like Nox and NRG. These are high skill dependent gods. You have to learn your abilities time and time again, because if you don't, you're either out of position or you're dealing no damage. There's a lot safer god options available to people, but going for a risk reward comp like this, the damage output is a little bit strong on these if you can connect the abilities.
If I had to look at a team that had the execution capability, I would certainly be looking at Obey or NRG. Both of these squads are more than capable of pulling off this combo, and especially a tag team like PrettyPriMe and CaptainTwig.
Now, normally with someone like NRG, you'd like something that will have some follow-up after the NRG ultimate to be able to confirm the damage. But what can happen here is PrettyPriMe can lock them in place with the root. Easy sash, easy ring toss, easy fire wheels coming out for CaptainTwig. Can set them up, and NRG is one of his go-tos of old, but now with the ring toss buff a little bit stronger, a couple more bounces on that ring toss, means it's a little bit better at the wave clear and the poke potential.
Not to mention that Twig in general might not even necessarily be looking for the Sash ultimate. A lot of more experienced Ninjas will just try and force out actives early on.
We're talking about forcing out. Obey trying to force the situation on the left-hand side here. Sunder from emilZy didn't really find a home there, and neither did the hammer. Ataraxia taking a bunch of damage from iRaffer, and the knockup from emilitoo, but only being level 1. There's no extra taste potential, but Ataraxia did lose his beads early on here. This was a standard start out of NRG Taco. We've seen this multiple times before. They start their own red buff and then forego the first wave of pressure.
A very even trade out though for both sides, considering that, sure, Ataraxia might have lost his purification beads, but emilitoos were expended as well. So it's fairly unsafe for both of these hunters right now. And if anything, Ataraxia should be happy that it was only a level 1 engagement. And NRG probably came out on top there as well, considering they were able to secure the red buff.
Well, they were for now, but they're going to lose those oracles on the left-hand side as Twig is fighting against 2 on the right-hand side for those harpies, and it looks like NRG did strip both of those away. One thing we've not mentioned just yet was during the picks and bans, Jingwei. How is Jingwei right now, and is emilitoo in the right sort of position to be playing it here?
I think Jingwei has always been viable even after her nerfs. Just a lot of people didn't really want to mess with her because there are other hunters that are probably more in favor than her, considering that their kits are just a little bit stronger. But now she's not what she used to be, but she's more than a strong contender.
Isn't she back a little bit more because of the crit coming back in, like Rage and things, and because she has crit in her build? Is that one of the potential reasons?
Yes, crit being so cheap right now, Rage in particular, it just makes it a lot more favorable for a hunter such as Jingwei.
Well, over in the solo lane, maniaKK versus Dimi, a match that goes back a couple of years. But now that maniaKK's back in the scene again, playing in the solo lane for Obey after Variety left this squad, maniaKK's found a home here relatively quickly. I think a lot of people expected he may have a bit of a warm-up time to coming back to the solo lane, of finding his footing again here. But I guess he's been lucky at the same time that the meta has kind of fallen back to his favor of where he was from when he was originally playing the role.
The meta's been in his favor as of late, and he never really stopped playing. Sure, he wasn't in the competitive environment, but he was still contending alongside of the ranked area, and he's getting... it doesn't even look like he's come back.
Yeah,
it looks like he never left.
He's lost a beat, hasn't he? He just continued on.
It's incredible to see, and I think a large portion of that is just attributed to when he initially left, it was because he didn't have the same kind of passion and same kind of motivation as before. Now that he's come back with the same drive, it's played heavily into his gameplay because there's no difference almost.
I think a lot of fans who were looking at Obey after the World Championships, and you saw that they finished second with Variety and Frezzy, I should say, on their team. But the difference was emilZy was technically an upgrade a lot of people saw for Obey, but everyone was kind of suspicious about how maniaKK would do. Was it a side grade after Variety or a downgrade after Variety's season was just so strong?
emilZy already showing just how much that aggression has played out, except his is a little bit more calculated than Frezzy's, so Obey, certainly an upgrade picking up emilZy, and then on the side of maniaKK, he's done an excellent job at filling the hole that Variety left behind.
Now we did see emilZy there, has that Sunder at the start of the game, he was looking for the pickup, but one thing we didn't mention is what iRaffer started with here, with the beads pickup on a Terra. Very worried about the all-in potential, I guess, you know, the silences, the roots, the sashes, and if he does get hit by a Sunder, every tank will fall down relatively quickly.
But iRaffer having the purification beads is a little bit more selfish, considering that maybe a Shell or even a Spring could have been a potentially strong pickup for his team. However, I do like his selection to be a little bit more greedy, because if you're not getting picked non-stop on the support, then that means you can still be a lot more useful to your team.
You
than
can be
just being
farming,
dead off cooldown.
getting experience, collecting gold still. You don't do damage if you're dead, I guess. You don't actually help peel for your team or CC for your team if you're dead either, so maybe the beads are the right option. We'll see as this continues. Over on the left-hand side, we'll get those oracles. At the same time, you can see emilZy has finished off his traveler's shoes now, so he'll be getting a little bit more gold and mobility for himself.
And I like how Twig keeps consistently trying to aggress and just poke at NRG. He doesn't really want to let them get anything for free. And even though he's not necessarily securing the contested farm, just the fact that he's able to show presence for himself just keeps NRG on their toes, really.
Well, gold lead at the moment is just slightly in favor of Obey, but we're following adapting along as Ataraxia hasn't noticed he's got a rotation coming. Rooted in place, then he'll use his dash. The Terra already used as well. And the piggies will be happening for adapting for a second, allowing Ataraxia to live. It cost him his ultimate, however.
2 ults for the cost of 1, and that's a win every single time.
Ooh.
Other than the fact that it does force Ataraxia away. Dimi, He was looking for it
Yeah,
there.
like the idea.
maniaKK wasn't really, I don't think he was fully committed to that dive at all, but I do like the safe decision by Dimi to use his ultimate just in case, because had the bludgeon connected, I'm confident maniaKK would have committed.
I'm pretty sure if maniaKK would have expected that, though, the Eagles' rally and response could have come out, and maybe maniaKK would have found a kill. Always mind games in the solo lane of when you use the abilities, when you've got them off cooldown, and just how much survivability you've got, or burst potential as well.
And back to what I was saying about Ataraxia in this duo lane, the gank by adapting, I think he executed that pretty well, but Ataraxia's response was perfect. The fact that he didn't expend his ultimate and just recognized that he was able to escape off his dash alone, that's to a T perfect hunter play, because now adapting can't just sit in that lane and look for the free farm on him with his beats being available.
Well, still no kills in 6 minutes. A bit different story from what the rest of the day's been. Lots of kills, lots of action every single game. But Obey have managed to get a nice little substantial lead at the start of this one with just superior farming. No kills involved, a couple of beads burned between teams or relics. But for the time being, both seem to be happy to just wait this out during the early stages. Does this benefit a certain team?
I would say in particular it probably favors Obey a little bit more, especially with maniaKK chunking away Dimi's health like that. But really, it's just Obey trying to gather as much farm as possible to look for that all-in burst potential.
Obey could be in trouble around these oracles here. Adapting swings around the back, and Dimi's coming on the way too. Twig will take him to the skyline to buy him a minute, but look at the people waiting on the ground. Eagles rally for maniaKK will deny the opportunity, and it's Adapting who's actually in trouble, forced away. But emilitoo's rotation over is helping out the boys of NRG Esports. iRaffer's one hit and still standing, and emilZy will pick up Dimi, however, as iRaffer will manage to escape. Obey aren't done. They want to pick on Adapting if they can.
The bludgeon doesn't connect though. Now it's just Twig versus emilitoo. emilitoo has the Jing ultimate to escape, and it looks as though everybody else on NRG will get out of that just fine. But why is maniaKK always against 4 people and just fine?
He doesn't care, that's why. He just goes in and expects his team to follow up, and that's what Obey just did there. First kill goes over towards emilZy, granted not the target you'd really like it on, but they lose the speed buff. Adapting secures that. They get first blood to Obey, and not only that, they strip the red, the purple, and I think they're going to get this gold fury as well. So a big gold swing the way of Obey early on off that one team fight around the elementals.
You say that Fafnir isn't the ideal target for a first blood, but I don't think there's a single member on the side of Obey that I wouldn't want to see a first blood go towards. Fafnir has so much aggression early on, and he deals so much damage, especially with that coerce buff. Forcing out NRG just led Obey to easily secure that gold fury.
Yeah, I get what you mean. I'm always down about that 400 gold, because that's what I always think about it. It's like, that's the most costly, decent amount of gold you can get for a kill in the game of Smite in a single game. 400 gold's a lot, and when you're Fafnir, and you've already got your travel issues online, you're already working your Thebes, I'd rather potentially see that go towards like a PrettyPriMe or the Naja in the jungle just to help finish off the tier 2, tier 3 of their item.
It would have been nice, but I just see Fafnir as kind of like the mobile Ares. He's 100% one of those supports that can actually carry a game from the start of it. And Obey, it's not like their draft needs any assistance, but just having that nice little damage boost on the side of the Fafnir never hurts.
Well, one thing we have seen today is Ravana jungle, and we've also seen Osiris jungle, so it's a bit of a mixture of where everyone's going to... We've also seen Bellona support, so what we're hearing about the Warriors right now, at least those 3, is they're pretty multi-talented at going into the role and making some use for themselves, even if they're not successful as a team with those picks.
You can't really go wrong with Warriors right now. They just provide so much damage and tankiness in team fights that...
But Sunder OP, Taco.
Sunder. There's only one in the game right now, so that's probably what the downside is for NRG right now, is they forgot to build their Sunder.
Oh, you reckon?
I think so.
Okay.
I think iRaffer meant to build Sunder, but he accidentally clicked beads instead.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I've seen some crazy things come out of iRaffer in the support role, but I'm pretty sure he's generally on point with his legs. He's bought Hog a couple more times than I've seen him buy Sunder so far. Solo lane matchup, maniaKK versus is the Osiris. He's going to go on for days. Dimi and maniaKK happy to just wail away on each other. As everybody else now just kind of hanging back with the gold fury being down. There's not much to really contest.
maniaKK certainly favored in that strict auto-in-hand trade, just because the one providing the protections on the Bellona is just almost always going to lean in his favor.
Do you know what? I had a feeling there where Prime might just look for the ult combo with an Eagles rally into an ult coming out from Nox, but it's not happening just yet. Maybe now's the story. Different though, with the minion wave being there, they're not going to be able to find it. However, emilZy has pulled the Portal Demon on his own right now with the support in tow of Ataraxia. Free Portal Demon.
No idea.
Nobody on NRG knew what was going on.
They had no idea that that was happening, and it's because of the way that Obey split up their lanes to farm them. them. NRG just thought that Prime was looking for the gank on Dimi, so they kind of anticipated the air. And then they thought that Ataraxia just back to base.
Talk about Ataraxia there. Was it wise of him to go for that Portal Demon over losing a whole wave in the duel lane? Because he left the whole wave there as it went under the tower. Cernunnos had rotated all the way to that Portal Demon. So is a Portal Demon worth one wave, would you say?
I definitely say the Portal Demon's worth the wave, just because you give not only global gold to your team, but it's just having that route available in case Obey do want to look for any aggression in mid lane. They can very easily back out and then choose to re-engage.
I guess I'm thinking more about the risk-reward factor of like, hey, do I go for the Portal Demon that may get contested and we might not get, versus a free wave of experience that's just going to die to the tower at the end of the day? It's always a trade-off in Smite of what the correct call is, and sometimes you don't ever know because you don't see the other version of the call.
And it's paying off right now for Obey. They already have a 3.7k experience lead to their name. maniaKK, though, in a little bit of danger here, taking probably a lot more poke than what he was anticipating.
I will say maniaKK hangs around a lot more than most people. When you think you've got him beat, normally you'd expect someone to escape. maniaKK will take an extra shot or two more than you'd normally expect him to, and that's when you go, hang on a second, why is he still here? Why am I nervous now? It should be him that's nervous. Am I getting rotated on? Has he got support coming? Is he about to ult in place? Like, what's going on? And that's one of the reasons I think we saw Dimi and Adapting both back up for a second, like, hang on. This doesn't make sense.
He's kind of just letting himself get slapped in the face there for a hot minute, but I do like the choice by NRG to fall back, kind of sniffing out that gank or that rotation from CaptainTwig.
Now this experience lead that you can see Obey have, they do have a gold lead too, but the experience is quite important in the early stages. Get yourself to that secondary relic that comes online at level 12 and actually just give you base scaling, base stats that come in online a little bit earlier. Very strong for mages, for example, who just want those base levels to get to their maximum potential.
I'd say the experience lead is also so important because NRG probably have the stronger early game draft. You've got the Osiris, the Ravana, a Soul, and a Jing. All of those gods are excellent at farming early on, and so for Obey to already have the lead that they do, it just goes to show how well they're not only distributing their lane farm towards each other, but their objective control has been very strong as well.
Bit of a difference in those two solo laners. You can see Gladiator's Shield online for maniaKK, whereas Dimi potentially looking for the Mystical Mail start here. How are we feeling about these builds? Is it based off the matchups of the enemy team really here?
Dimi doesn't really need to worry about anything else other than doing what Dimi does best, and that's disorienting the backline in team fights. That is what Dimi loves to do. He won't necessarily win the laning phase. He doesn't care about that, though. He cares about providing the most assistance to his team. And so if that means rushing the Mystical Mail and then looking to just jump into that backline and face take a couple of autos from Ataraxia, he's fine with that.
Well, God Fury is available once again. You can see maniaKK going back towards the solo lane, has teleport available, which is a different story for Dimi, who just uses teleport to go back to lane earlier on. That technically means that Dimi's going to have to manually rotate all the way over here, and maniaKK could get some free farm on this side for a while before having to turn up for the contest.
And I think Dimi's actually aware of that, which is why we see him hovering around the mid lane territory, because he knows that Obey are probably trying to secure yet another Gold Fury, and since maniaKK can so easily teleport over, Dimi kind of just has to spread his own map awareness to ensure that he can make it in time if that happens.
And talking about Dimi, you can see he has picked up Sunder to go alongside that teleport, as has maniaKK. So a couple of Sunders now online as the Oracles are going to go stripped by Obey very quickly. Sashing from Twig onto Raffa. Raffa going to pop the ultimate immediately, a little bit nervous there by the sounds of it. The ricochet bounces coming out from the ring toss, I should say. Did some decent damage, forcing Yammyn back to the safety of his tower with the Disapparator. His emilitoo will escape at the backside on the left.
I don't think Raffer popped his ultimate there. Probably was thinking about it, but it looks like Twig, he's just looking to force some beads. Now he's got the Terra ultimate online, but the Gold Fury's already gone the way of Obey, and now the team fight's headed their direction as well.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that, because Prime's already dead. Ataraxia very low, running towards Yammyn. Dimi coming around the corner. Ataraxia's in trouble as Adapting comes over the wall. Gonna get cleaned up by Dimi with the Sunder, and now Dimi's turning his attention towards the next target. It's CaptainTwig. They're ignoring, though, maniaKK, and maniaKK just bludgeoned half the health off of Yammyn. maniaKK will get a kill now onto Adapting, and now Dimi is 2v1. Gold Fury goes the way of Obey. The team fight pretty even up to a point, but I think they just left maniaKK unchecked.
That's still entirely in favor of Obey, though. 4 members dropped on the side of NRG, and Obey might have lost 3, but they got the Gold Fury, and so because of that, Obey just comes out on top every single time, and their draft is a lot more oriented towards this mid to late game stage. I mean, sure, NRG have the Soul, they've got the Terra, and that's always primary targets for the mid to late game when you're looking for shred potential. But Najat and Nox, I mean, come on.
Yeah, PrettyPriMe was the one that ended up securing that Gold Fury there, now level 13 as well. The player damage, you can see it's pretty much all maniaK and Dimi on the Osiris. Not really surprising when those two are going to be beating each other down in lane to Kingdom coming back the whole while on. But then you've got CaptainTwig sneakily catching up towards Dimi at that 7k mark.
Did you see how much that bludgeon chunked, by the way, from maniaK? That was just completely deleted the health bar.
Yeah, it was really, really painful. I was really surprised by how much actual damage output came of that. Portal Demon has respawned again now, and already you can see EmilZy's hanging around there, getting wall coverage down very quickly to make sure that NRG don't sneak it, and also to make sure if NRG do go to place wards themselves, or leave it exposed like they did in the last rotation.
Also, maniaK's been a part of every single kill so far for Obey. That's fairly impressive considering it's already 16 minutes in. It just goes to show how well he's able to spread his rotations around. Well,
Twig was looking for a ring toss there and then tried to juke out a couple of abilities with that speed buff on around his waist, I should say. Just giving an opportunity to juke a little bit more. maniaK on the right-hand side, dealing with iRaffer and Dimi. Now looking to collapse on potentially adapting. He's a little bit far forward. You can see the overhand kick is down, but there's an Eagle's Rally to follow up. Adapting, forced under the tower, still has ultimate available. Ults onto maniaK, but maniaK's just so tanky, he can survive the whole thing. The burst damage from Prime on the backside is there to support the team and reduce the damage output of NRG Esports, but the problem is that Obey are collapsing nicely as time goes on. maniaK's still in trouble on this right-hand side. He's got no Eagle's Rally this time round. He's tanking the tower as well. One more hit and maniaK will fall down, and now NRG have a 4v5.
But it took so much time for maniaK to actually fall, and now Ataraxia, he's turning entirely to Dimi. CaptainTwig able to clean him up, but emilZy, he's still in his big dragon form. He's looking to shred emilitoo next, and the rest of NRG just has to fall back to their T1 tower.
And what you saw there at the end was when Dimi died, he just got CC chained to high heaven. He couldn't escape, couldn't move, and Obey just bursted him down, made it a 2-for-1 in the end. Now they're going to fall back towards the Portal Demon. EmilZy on zone duty, or at least just trying to slow down NRG from trying to contest. Portal Demon to Obey as well.
I have to say, that commit onto adapting was so extended, and adapting honestly played that really well. I don't know if you noticed, but the overhead kick from adapting actually immuned the Najat ultimate from Twig. Had that ultimate actually connected, I think that NRG would have lost that fight, and probably a lot more members than what they actually did.
You can see the teamfight recap at the bottom, all the damage from the couple of abilities that came out from the Obey members there. 875 I saw was pretty high, but 1500 I think I just saw on PrettyPriMe in the mid lane with that ultimate. Ooh, that's swinging now. That's what you get with the Spirit Desolation. And then in tow, following that up now, you've also got what looks like it'll be a Book of Top.
Every single... he might only have a few items online. Hold that thought, though. It could be Dimi looking to get the aggression factor started with NRG. I don't think they have too much chase, but they're looking for it. emilitoo's trying to dash forward onto maniaK.
But it's always maniaK that's the furthest forward as well. He's happy to take the brunt of this damage and allow Obey to maybe find wins elsewhere on the map, like that left-hand side where we just saw Ataraxia take down the Tier 1 tower, and like the mid lane where we can see 3 members now taking down the Tier 1 tower there as well. NRG are being pulled from pillar to post now in favor of Obey.
It just seems like Obey is really disorienting NRG so heavily, causing them to rotate to areas they don't necessarily want to be in. And sure, emilitoo has it to his advantage with the Jing Wei passive, but unfortunately, he needed to be defending that T1 tower because now that that part of the map has been opened up for Obey, it just leaves Ataraxia to rotate even more easily to the rest of his team.
And not only that, it makes it very difficult to set up a defense for the Gold Fury now on this left-hand side, especially already after losing 2. There's less than 10 seconds on the next Gold Fury respawning. Where are NRG going to try and siege from? I mean, they've got no Tier 1 tower in mid or the left-hand side, which means ward coverage for Obey could spell demise for NRG around the next Gold Fury.
There's already a 9k gold disparity, and immediately Obey looking to group up again onto this right-hand side for the counter-engage, but their rotation comes out a little bit later than NRG's, but NRG's already dispersing.
Yeah, both teams hanging around the Fire Giant side now. Even though the Gold Fury is available, Obey can afford to lose the Gold Fury, and NRG can't really afford to leave the Fire Giant exposed by going to take it themselves. So Obey keeping the pressure on the right-hand side of the middle of the map actually works in their favor.
Obey still need to be careful, though, because if they just full commit to the Gold Fury, NRG could very easily look to just try and all-in on the Fire Giant.
You say that, but I'm looking at the Gold Fury right there, and it doesn't take long for a Cernunnos to bring that one down. Pretty much on his own. The rest of the members of NRG were actually in base, most of them at that time, so they weren't able to try and commit and find a cheeky fire giant in response.
You know what I find a lot of fun in this game, though, is that build from Ataraxia. The Ninja Tabi into the Shifter Shield, and the reason why this is able to work out on Cernunnos especially is because... Cernunnos?
Cernunnos?
Cernunnos.
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 There we go, we got it right. Cernunnos. So why do you like the Shifter Shield?
It's still the additional, it's pretty much identical power to Transcendence. The only difference is that it gives you a little bit of a bonus whenever you fall under that health threshold. And having the 75 power still available to you when you're above your 50% health threshold, it's really strong overall, and it works out with him because of his passive.
Is it worth going lifesteal with the Shifter Shield then, so you can make benefit of the extra power, and then when you get low, you can heal it back up again?
You don't need it on current.
Okay.
He 100%
with the lifesteal he's got in his kit anyways, fine.
His kit.
Makes sense. Well, Tier 1 on the right goes down. Raph is going to pop the ultimate early on, looking to siege down and pick PrettyPriMe, who dashes away. Crushing walls from Rapha do not connect there. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, because he adapts in Spite after the hammer hits him, he's forced to ult defensively again, but the Eagle's rally for Maniac to follow up, and the snipe from downtown from Prime didn't really hit. The ball will, however, but Maniac versus Dimi's going on, and Dimi's doing good work, but the crits are starting to come through, and then once the CC chain connects from the silence, Ataraxia gets credit for the kill. 4v5, but the members of Obey have taken quite a bit of damage.
Just nowhere to go for Dimi, just completely surrounded by the entirety of Obey, and his team couldn't even provide any sort of assistance because of that knock silence.
Speed goes the way of Obey too, and they're going to fall back towards the Fire Giant for a second. CaptainTwig happy to find the jungle because he will get some sustain off of the Bomber's Mask as well, or potentially bait in NRG again. Bad news is, though, multiple members of Obey went towards the mid lane and didn't stick around for this. Maniac slided out position, but Yammyn's taken to the sky. Disapparate will save the life of the mid laner. Unfortunate timing from Twig, I should say, but then the ring toss saves the day.
That was beautiful. And emilitoo actually just found a death to Ataraxia on the backside there.
10-4. Obey just won multiple fights in the jungle. They could look for the Fire Giant right now, but I guess they're a little bit too low, and I think that's why you see Ataraxia healing up. Portal Demon's coming up. What do NRG need to do here, Taco?
First of all, that was just so sick by Yammyn. The fact that he was able to get the Disapparate off in time from the Najal, and I just had to say, like, that was just awesome.
I'm going to give the credit to Twig, right? You know why? Because Twig left the blue buff standing on purpose, knowing that if he didn't manage to kill him, he could ring toss and bounce it between the blue buff. He's a genius. He's a genius. Twig knew everything that was going on. It was calculated to perfection. Yammyn didn't stand a chance.
Oh, neither does this Portal Demon against Obey. They're already shredding it. And NRG, they can't even get close before this thing's expended.
It's true.
It's just gone. It's
true. Portal Demon now down, and now power play once again, if it wasn't already in Obey's favor. They just look so good this year, Taco.
This is probably one of the cleaner games from Obey. A little bit of awkward moments around that 2-2 fight from the initial dive onto adapting, where a couple of abilities were missed. I still think it's very fair, and EmilZy, just perfect zoning out of him.
Well, Fire Giant is down. Obey picked that up, and Dimi engages into the squad on his own, but he's not got any support in time to turn that one around. Another kill the way of Obey, and now they're going to siege up the tier 2 on the right-hand side. You can see two members of NRG doing what they normally do when they're behind and try and split push to answer back some of this gold. You can see adapting and emilitoo trying to take a tier 1 tower, but if the race is on for Phoenixes, I tell you what, you're not going to beat a Fire Giant team like Obey at this one.
I don't think that they're looking for a favorable trade out. They're just hoping to get at least one Phoenix, but it's already Maniac teleporting in. He's completely crushing their dreams.
But not just him. Guess who else was hidden inside? PrettyPriMe came along with the ride with the teleport, allowing the three members with Fire Giant on the top side of the map, Obey, to now siege down a tier 2 tower. They could just backdoor it because there's no real members of NRG here to defend.
At least NRG lost the favorable Phoenix. If they're going to lose a Phoenix, they're very lucky that it was happening in the right-hand side because it leaves them room for a potential Fire Giant defense in the next go-round. But I'm not sure how much longer this game is going to last on the side of NRG with the way that Obey have completely taken control.
I mean, 17,000 experience and 16,000 gold. That experience still matters because multiple members of both teams still not level 20 in this game. And every minute of that experience adds up to free damage experience.
But EmilZy is literally on par with most of the members of NRG as far as experience is concerned. And anytime a Fafnir is the same level as the majority of your team, in fact, the head of a couple of members, it's rough.
Yeah, you're going to have a bit of an awkward time there. Was it anything obvious that stood out from NRG's play today that was awkward or like shows that they lost this, or was this just Obey outplaying them?
I think that this was a combination of Obey outdrafting and just having better initiations from the start.
Can you really say outdrafting though? Because I mean, NRG got Osiris, Ravana, and Terra, and you can't say they got outdrafted, can you?
I would say that they got counter-drafted then, is a better way to put it. I wouldn't say outdrafted, that's a little bit exaggerated, but counter-drafted for sure, because this Nox is completely shutting down the initiating factor.
Well, here we go. NRG's last stand on the left-hand side. They're going to engage straight away, looking to try and turn this game around. Two of the big tanky dealers are in there, but they're both in the silence right now. Dimi needs a lot of poke after Yammyn. They do get the kill on Ataraxia after. In comes maniaKK over the top, looking to clean up Yammyn, who's trying to live for as long as he can. The Aegis is already down. Yammyn still survives. Dimi does not, though, as emilZy and him collapse too. Into the sky. Twig takes one.
And immediately, Twig is already looking to shred down iRaffer, who's trying to escape on that backside, but maniaKK finds him in the backline, and now it's just emilitoo left to fend for his own. No chance against the burst from PrettyPriMe, and CaptainTwig easily cleaning up Yammyn.
Can they end off this push, do you reckon, here? The T2 down, they get the Phoenix on the left-hand side, Findings on the right-hand side, only adapting here to defend. We're under 30 minutes.
It's a Fafnir. They can end. No doubt, and NRG aren't even going to wait for it. They could tell that Titan didn't stand a single chance against the Fafnir and the rest of the squad.
So as you were saying there, after game one, you thought NRG's draft was good, but they got outdrafted with the Nox. The Nox was the issue.
I think the counter draft was just incredibly strong by Obey.
And was it just the Nox that was a counter draft?
They played it to the T. It's not just the Nox. I mean, just the way that they played every single selection on their side was overall more impactful than that of NRG. There just wasn't as much cohesion as you would expect from this squad. Typically, they seem a little bit more put together, but it was just unable to really, they couldn't really get anything going, because as soon as Obey sieged a little bit of map control from securing the first Gold Fury and then the Portal Demon off the get-go, it just made things so difficult for them to combat into.
Well, let's get